You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. Sometimes you have to triple check stuff, don't you? I suppose, really, if you're live on the radio, you should triple check everything. And I don't feel this duty as keenly as I do the Brexit related stuff, because I don't think it is. I don't think it's anywhere near as big a problem. And of course, the project failed, but people still clinging to the carcass of Jeremy Corbyn's credibility would do well to look at an interview that he's given today, condemning Britain's military aid to Ukraine. I'll say that again. Condemning Britain's military aid to Ukraine. And that's an interview granted to a pro-Russian, pro-Assad, pro-Hezbollah, Iranian-linked propaganda media outlet. So, in the interest of helping people who've fallen for cultish delusion back into the light, which I do a lot with Brexit people, there's a little bit there for the Corbynite equivalents. There's your man there on a pro-Russian, pro-Assad, pro-Hezbollah, Iranian-linked propaganda outlet condemning Britain's military aid to Ukraine. And that's just awful, absolutely awful. There's a role for it in the backbenches, I suppose, in a functioning plurality. You have members of Parliament, elected members of Parliament, who represent extremely, to my mind, absurd positions, but, you know, they have a right to be heard. The idea of having them in charge of a country, however, is, and always will be absolutely crackers. But hey-ho, I'm sure people will be claiming that's a scam by tea time today. 25 minutes to 12 is the time.
It's only going to prolong and exaggerate this war. We might be in for years and years of a war in the Ukraine. But then the world woke up and suddenly realized that Russia and Ukraine are the world's biggest grain exporters, and something has to be done. So they came to an agreement, and I hope it holds, to export grain through Odessa and through the Bosphorus to the rest of the world. That is a good move. But at the same time, putting more and more arms into Ukraine isn't going to bring about it. What I find disappointing is that hardly any of the world's leaders use the word peace. They always use the language of more war and more bellicose war. Ukrainians are dying. Ukrainians have gone into exile, thousands and thousands. And Russian soldiers are dying, conscripted young Russian soldiers are dying. This war is disastrous for the people of Ukraine, for the people of Russia, and for the safety and security of the whole world. And therefore, there has to be much more effort put into peace. I think it's good that Antonio Guterres eventually went to Moscow, but mainly to talk about Mariupol at that time. I think the UN ought to be centre stage in this. And if the UN cannot negotiate a ceasefire of some sort, they'd bring in somebody else who can. The African Union, League of Arab States. There are many forums around the world that have no direct economic interest one way or the other between Russia and Ukraine who might be able to broker a peace. But there has to be a peace. Otherwise, what are we looking at? People in Ukraine just being killed, Russian soldiers being killed, and a devastation on the economies of all those countries. And there are now millions of Ukrainians living in other parts of Europe. And I have to say, generally speaking, Europe has been very welcoming of Ukrainian refugees, and that's good, that's right. Sadly, they're not so welcoming and not so enabling of refugees coming from Yemen or anywhere else. In my book, a refugee needs help and support wherever they come from.